playoffs of IEM Katowice 2024 are just around the corner within a day or two, depending on time zones and, perspective and all of that. When the video comes up, we're going to be underway. Hopefully you're watching before then so that the predictions can be at the more timely location. I mean, these time zones tell you everything. I'm definitely going to be watching this game, and I could sleep on this game. This game, I don't know. Quite frankly, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to know. The Spirit game is interesting, but I don't think it's that interesting. It depends. It's very interesting at the same time. It's not interesting at all, depending on the outcome of the previous ones. Let's get into it all. Let's get into every single point of discussion that we could possibly have. Alright. Let's start with the predictions, and then we'll move on to the review of the entire event so far. Because I think that's fair. Let me just open this as well in another tab, so that we got the right picture about all of this. Okay, playoff, who's going to win each game, step by step, bracket by bracket. I'll explain as well. Ents vs Falcons. Ents' Cinderella story ends here. As much as people would like to say, Polish dream or whatever, I mean, the ratings are something aside. Obviously, this is also kind of, none of this makes any sense. Let's think about it logically. Pressure of the crowd will get to Ents more than it will Falcons. They'll have support, but they'll also have a lot of pressure on them. Historically, Hades, not very great in stage games so far. In general, not very great. Like, at the top level, he can fall off, but he can farm lower tier teams. That's where he came from. He still hasn't proven, at least to me, that he can consistently put up AWP frags against top teams. Glaive, I think, will do fine in the stage. He'll probably be the top rated player, if we're going to be honest. And Diha is like, he also kind of falls off in the biggest games. He doesn't have the roles to necessarily do that much, but that's not really, it's not like he's the bitch of the team in the way that, like, what do you call it? He's nowhere near as left alone as Sanji. In a way, he's actually got more pressure on him now that he's a more experienced member of this 9 core going up to Ents, right? And I think it's that much. There's a lot of points going against Ents, in my opinion, beyond just their actual fluky feeling to me. Falcons, you can say anything you want about them, and this is not a video about that. This is a video about the actual CS that they're playing. The CS isn't great, but it is getting better. I think Snappy can call a decent game in the crowd at this point. I think Boros hasn't impressed me, but he has had at least 1 or 2 good maps. Which is fair, you're allowed to do that, right? But this is definitely a LAN team. Magisk is, of course, going to frag out on LAN. Senpais has been known to, at least not in the grand final, but against Ents, he could farm the shit out of Ents. Ents are not going to have their positioning on point. Ents are going to be faltering and not going to have perfect timing, especially because Glaive might say something in English and then, maybe a half a second delay or whatever. Things can get stressful out there. And then Senpais can just AWP frag, pick him off in expertise. Now, we quickly go to the match page, because I would like to delve a little bit deeper. I haven't looked too deeply into the map videos, but there's not that much data, of course, right? Neither of these teams play Inferno. Falcons, Snappy, there was teasing in one of those podcast episodes or whatever that he's going to permaban something else, which I think is fair. Because I don't think this Ents team is going to take that much risk of a risk. They're going to stick with what they've got. Right? I don't think they're going to try and play Inferno in a crowd in front of everybody for the first time, given that it's the only map they've never played. Right? So, I mean, the way it looks right now is difficult. I think, is it the lower seeded team bans first, right? If I had to guess. Is that, or lower seeded team's map pick shows up first, so N should get the first pick. All things considered. What will Ents pick? Ents have to pick Anubis. I mean, everything else aside, there's not much else you can pick into unless they have a read on something else. This is just spitballing. They can pick any map they want. Falcons probably will pick Nuke, to be honest, even though they have had a lot of reps on Nuke compared to all other maps. It's still like Sunpias on Nuke that alone is probably enough. And then you can get Magisk and even you can get Boros to frag out potentially. Right? Who knows? What would map 3 be? Map 3 Ancient seems like the most obvious. They both got experience on it, and then neither of them are really going to want to ban it. Whereas, definitely would rather ban... Falcons don't want to play Mirage. They just don't have the practice, really, as far as I can tell, right? Maybe the core is different. I mean, they did destroy Navi on it, so that's fair as well. But, you know, there are a lot of questions on multiple levels. It is funny that this is a rematch of Technicality. Looks like CCT, so true. But yeah, in any case, I don't see Falcons losing this one. At most, I can see Ents taking a map off of them, but I think that's a rip. And Ents did well to get this far. They're gonna get a lot of crowd cheering. They're gonna get the Polish fans crazy for every round. But as soon as they stop, you know, having like a strong moment of form, as soon as the pressure gets on them, Falcons will just play like simple CS, grind them down, and end it. So that's that. FaZe G2 is huge coin flip on every angle. You can't really predict this 100%. New patch, but then again, FaZe was good. FaZe was good in CSGO, but then they fell off, but now there's a new player. Frozen has been doing about as good as Twist did, if not better. But the team synergy is obviously a bit missing because Twist had that mid-round synergy with the team, you know, in clutch situations, which just takes time to build up in a team like FaZe, right? G2, I have no faith in Nexa to do his job as an anchor. And now with less Pika's advantage, I feel like Nexa is going to get worse, to be honest with you. I don't see Nexa holding an angle. I sleep, me personally, and thus, I mean, listen, if they sub JKS in for Nexa right now, they win the entire event. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm actually not kidding, to be honest. I authentically believe that. You can't change my mind. Monesi's gonna go insane. He's actually insane. Nico could get way better. Panta could get a little better. Honestly, I'm gonna say G2 wins this, despite the fact that I just hated on Nexa and that I don't think Hooksie's got anything to give here either. I don't think FaZe is ready yet. I think they're gonna... It's gonna be a close game, so either way it could go, but I'm gonna put G2 here just because they also kind of have a title to defend. They're gonna have some motivation. Nico is gonna get his own placebo into the head. He's like, I'm doing better in the new patch, so he's gonna actually play. I mean, I've been a Nico like troller or slash hater. Like, I don't actually hate any of the players, obviously. Like, you obviously... I need to say this because people can't see behind the veneer of an analyst or a pundit who makes bold statements. Like, you know, if I call Nico a bot and tell him and say he sucks, this is just in the like process of me having a bit of fun and talking about the analysis. If I saw Nico, I would be like, oh my god, Nico! I'll take a selfie with Nico. It's not fucking. There's no problem. There's no like situation here. You know what I mean? If I'm like, oh, Nico kicked JKS or JKS for life, you know, I might say some troll shit like that. It does not translate to actual real life situations, you know. People don't realize that because they've never stepped outside of their life. Coming from me, that's rich, but as little as I go outside and interact with people, I know there's people way fucking worse, at least in their behavior, if not everything else, right? So get that through some of your heads, first of all. But G2 wins this. I don't think MOUZ stands a chance. They're relatively new. Broadland's been fragging, but Broadland's not going to have the stage presence ready. This team, they've got some choke energy, in my opinion. And I think G2 is going to be confident off of a win and storm them. Either way, FaZe or G2 will make it to the grand final. But MOUZ doesn't stand a chance against either of them, in my opinion. I don't think... Like, Torji is a fraud. That's just plain and simple, right? And I have this is how you know I'm keeping it real, because I have MOUZ merch, right, sitting right next to me as I say this. Like, I like what the org does in general. Like, I mean, that and also the design of the merch was cool enough. But it just doesn't... This team is not ready yet. They could get better, and if they replace Torji, they would get even better. But as of right now, they'll lose to either one, and I'll say G2 in the final. Spirit vs Falcons. I mean, Spirit destroy Ants if Ants make it anyway, so that's fine. But Spirit versus Falcons. I'm gonna say Spirit either way, even because here's my logic. If the new patch actually does make Donk play a little bit worse, Shiro will play better because Shiro is an AWPer, and that's his very passive style will benefit. If it doesn't hurt him that much, he'll just destroy Falcons, in my opinion. I don't think you can get away with playing the Falcons like, you know, fast Counter-Strike style. I feel like that's gonna get caught out by. So there's some pretty consistent pieces. Now I know Spirit's kind of, they've received a lot of pressure, right? Or at least they haven't received a lot of pressure, and so players like Zontix and Magix could be exploited. I think Chopper's a decent fragger for an IGO, but I think Magix on a side could easily be exploited. But as long as they pair him up with, like, you know, they can run some multiple setups, you can run Shiro alongside him. You know, one thing I am concerned about is Spirit's map pool. I don't know Spirit's map pool all that well, but they have very good Ancient. They can have a pretty good Mirage. I don't know how they are on, like, Overpass. Like, what is that even their, what is that, like, bans and stuff? Mirage, Vertigo, Ancient, Nubis, Nuke, Overpass. They haven't played any Inferno? Okay. Though, so another edge, the Inferno permaban from Falcons, they get another little thing to play with here. But, you know, Mirage, they're kicking ass on Vertigo, they're kicking ass on Mirage. They have a pretty damn good Ancient, at least in my opinion. Like, I don't care about this result, but, like, their Ancient just looks pretty damn sick. And their Nubis isn't half bad. I don't know about their Overpass on Nuke, but I think that they should be fine. It might be a 3-mapper, but I think Spirit take it to the grand final. Spirit vs G2 grand final. This is a tough one. I'm gonna take G2. Unfortunately, this is the kind of result which really just, it pains me to say it, but this is like proof of honesty, right? I think G2 wins this. First and foremost, I don't think Spirit have a 5-map pool. No, I don't think G2 have a 5-map pool, but they have individuals to fill the gaps where the map pool. Because I think Donk is going to have to fall off, and it's gonna have to be in the grand final. They're probably gonna win the first map off of just hot off the press, you know, firepower. It'll be a close second map that G2 will win through some BS clutches, right? And then after that, I think G2 might just win 2 in a row, because Spirit will be out of gas. I think if you get Spirit on some of their weaker maps, you can get them on an Overpass. Maybe you can get them on, what's that other map? I mean, the Nuke is pretty damn good as well, to be fair. But I think if, like, let's say they start on a Mirage, they destroy them on Mirage. But G2 can perma Vertigo. Because I think they would rather play Overpass against Spirit, in my opinion. Right? Because if you perma anything else, you're gonna lose Vertigo against, because your Vertigo sucks ass. Because your players can't frag on it. Nico can't frag on Vertigo. You know, that's just been proven at this point that he very rarely has the impact that he would like. And so, you take that angle, you can take it in multiple ways, but I guess that means that they only have one guaranteed map. I think Ancient actually, Monacy could contest them very easily, and then they would, as soon as they start losing on Ancient, I don't know if they have it in them 100% of the time. You know what I mean? Plus, actually, I think Mongoose came pretty close to beating Spirit on Ancient, so it's not actually that broken of a map for them. They can still be tested and lose on it. And if Mongoose were pushing them that far, I think they're going to get better enough, and the pressure going to weigh on them the other way. I think this is a G2 3-1. I think this is a back-to-back Kato. I think this will destroy my soul as someone who's been praising JKS the entire time, who's been saying they shouldn't win shit with Nexa. But if they shot me up here and they actually, you know what, that's fine. I still maintain, like, I would love to predict FaZe here, but I think FaZe are actually shakier than G2 at this point in time. I think G2's base level gets them through MOUZ. I think their peak level gets them through FaZe, and I think Spirit will just crumble on the pressure at this point. That's my honest take. And that's how you know. You know what? Let's run it on the pick'em, actually. Let's actually run it on the pick'em. There we go. So I've saved it. Okay? I've saved it. Now just let's actually go through. Where's the play-in? Where's it so far down here? It should be right here. I guess the invites for that I would have decided before. Yeah, you know, you make sense, Magic Man. Okay. Let's just look at all of this and figure out whose results are fair and whose are not. Apex, they're okay. This roster is like a temporary roster. Sticko's in here because of the RMR slot. Sense is the IGO some reason because he was the Academy Team IGO. They did fight fairly against Na'Vi, but Na'Vi is kind of a mixed bag in the first place, right? They're also a team, not an individual team, and so they can, when two teams fight up against each other, it can get messy because you can't find a clear victor by someone taking the game over, right? Especially since this team is probably very hard to read, since no one knows what the fuck they're doing, because the IGO is dealing with a completely new lineup, and then everyone's doing their own little thing. With the individuals are not so bad, so they can still fight back. It's like, it's a whole mess, right? So I think that's fair. This last place, it probably isn't completely fair. I think Rebels taking a map off of Falcons and showing good. They actually showed fairly good form overall. They had a few close games. I think they can walk out feeling like a pretty good, pretty good and pretty fair result. No surprises here. Ents being through is a shocking victory on every level, right? I think we should go through all of these teams and just quickly say my piece, right? Apex, better than the result shows and better than the expectations were. Rebels walk out with the heads held high, like I said, respect. C9, it's embarrassing, frankly. Losing to Monty 2-0 is actually like fairly expected. Monty's got consistent like fragging power, and C9 at this point honestly doesn't. They should have won probably this game as well, as far as I recall. They had some pretty horrendous chokes on it. So this is embarrassing. This is actual fucking embarrassment. I said it in a tweet. ZywOo's might have a, people think that ZywOo's peak will last forever. Next year, ZywOo could have what Simple did, in his last year, right? Like last year, Simple was nowhere near the form that would make him single-handedly carry to like a grand final of Kato or Cologne. He could be a great player, but he wasn't number one, right? Obviously speaking. And so ZywOo next year could literally not have the firepower anymore. We don't know. It's not a guarantee that ZywOo stays number one for the rest of your fucking life, right? ZywOo could have squandered his only chance, potentially, at this kind of trophy. And ZywOo deserves this trophy if you consider individual ability, right? Nico did, he got it in the end. Simple did, he got it in the end. So ZywOo, where is yours, Like, Device didn't, he got it in the end. We hand these out to the people who deserve it in some way, in like some storyline sense. ZywOo might just walk out never having one. At least if he wins later on, it may not be in the form that he, could have won it in. Which happened to Nico as well, by the way. It's important to note. Like, his Kato win was not him. It was JKS and Hunter and some of Monacy. By the way. Anyway, just saying. ZywOo could have done better. Let's just take, like, the numbers don't tell the whole story, they'll tell part of the story. 1.15. He should have carried harder. I hate to say the meme line, like, carry harder. He should have. Mezzy shat the bed. He did look a little bit out of depth at times, I'll give him a chance to adapt, because I think the pressure should not be on Mezzy to bring his game up as the newer element of the team in like a close game such as this. The pressure should be on Spinks and ZywOo, because they're the star players. Spinks should have fragged out a little bit more. ZywOo should have gone way better. If you're a star player and you don't frag out crazy in your elimination games, then you can't walk out saying like, I did my best. ZywOo did not do his best. Full stop. ZywOo could have done better. Does that mean that this is shit? No. But there's a difference, there's some nuance, by the way. Like, ZywOo is the number one player of last year. Undisputed. So he should be held to the standard where he can carry these games. And if the team still loses, you walk away and you say, ZywOo, you were not part of the reason why this team lost. You carried them as far as you possibly could. They just had to put a few steps forward themselves and they couldn't do it. And that's fine. And that's acceptable. But this is not acceptable. Full stop. That's my piece. Complexity, embarrassing, just overall, but it's not a surprise. They beat Apex. Grim overperformed because he doesn't really perform anywhere else. They lost to Complexity. I mean, Spirit. They of course should lose to Spirit. They got a map on Falcons, but then they kind of got smoked. Hozerk top frag, but the riflers fell off. I mean, Elige's form is kind of, I want to say it's fool's gold, but it's like pretty good fool's gold. It's like bismuth maybe. I don't know. That's like a nice mineral, right? Floppy and Grim consistently average. JT's miracle form from Sydney's disappeared. This team is just a sleeper team. And by that, I mean I'm sleeping on them every single time. And it pays off for you every single time that you sleep on this team. Because they will never do anything apart from that grand final unless they change their AWP at the very minimum. At least 2 changes to get to actual trophy contending. They're nowhere near. You know what I mean? EF deserve respect. They played close against FaZe. In this game. They played pretty close. But by the end, you know, in this Na'Vi game, they fell apart at the very end. As I remember. So Tara's of course fragging out, you know, but then the calling shut the bed. Ricardia finally ran out of steam, but I think they can actually have some respect. They've performed fairly well. I don't expect them to do any better than this, but the matches individually were better than the results. So this is, you know, they're definitely better than Complexity in this regard. Monty, similar situation to EF, good performances, you know, fair enough. Game Legion, I'll say that piece later. The BC9, it was it was close, but it was also not close in some ways. Waro having a strong game. Happens every now and then. This game, they just completely shut the bed. STY was not feeling the game at all. But that kind of, you know, you don't expect them to be the top. This is kind of exactly where they should be, if you think about it. Or maybe here. But anyway. Game of Legion, definitely very strong. They didn't play well in their final game, but apart from this final game, they kind of showed fairly decent form. Close on the first map here, you know, 2-0ing Monty. Their path to get into the event in the first place, I believe, was fairly complex if we go over the play-in. I think we're looking here, they 2-1 VP, like that's already a fairly decent result. I think they can get some respect here. Realistically, they're not a playoff team, but they still had some like close results, so I don't think you can really be too mad at it. Heroic, Na'Vi and Heroic is kind of 2 sides of the same coin. They're both kind of international roster. The difference being Na'Vi's had a bit more time to ramp up and have a bit more of an established team, but the individuals are not there. Heroic, I'm very impressed by it. They've been getting better game by game. Very new team. Most people wrote them off. And, you know, this was a very rare Nico on game nowadays. But, you know, in the previous games, they've kind of had a lot of pop-offs. Nerds, Shush, Nikodos, but not with the orb. Nikodos is still kind of, I don't buy it yet. With an actual orb, this team would actually genuinely be like a playoff contender, trophy contender. I've seen enough to be accepting of this rifle core. I've seen enough. I think Kicksan as our IGO has done some fantastic calls. I've seen him multiple times actually get perfect like reads on the end of a half, back to back, like lining up vertigo, rotations and stuff like that. I've seen Tessa's pop off. I've seen Shush get clutches. I've seen Nerds with some consistency. I think Nikodos is the backbone of this team that just doesn't exist. Spineless, some would say. Not me. But I did just say it. So I think in that sense, Heroic have a place to build. Nikodos has one more chance at this major. I think they'll qualify to the major. That's not going to be a problem for them, I think. Because they have the tier 2 vibe to them. Oop, I'll pick that one up. It's my phone. But they're not like playoff contender material yet. So this is kind of good signs early. Better than Ents, in my opinion. Despite Ents' overperformance, I think this is more reliable. I think Kicksan's going to stay. I think Glaves running Ents is kind of a Cinderella dream that's not going to pan out for the long term. But Heroic, I think they've got gold in Kicksan and Saw especially. It's important to note. And Na'Vi, you know what? It's just a sad tale. Wonderful's kind of, you know, he played his heart out pretty much every series. Wonderful. You know, he did fine in that one. But overall, Wonderful has just been playing his heart out for this team, honestly. And it's pretty sad. They don't have a single pop-off rifler. Immer's form is like mythical. But then as soon as IMO maybe has some like okay results, then JL and Bit fall off. It's instead of like usually a rifle core is like which two will pop off. Now it's like which two will shit the bed, which one will have an acceptable game. Who can play in parallel with the AWPA, you know? Like how many times is Alexi B out fragging people? You know what I mean? That's just okay. Well, maybe Alexi B is actually also washed. Now that I think about it, no, not really. I think Alexi B is doing the best he can with his team, and that's a bad sign for the rest of the individuals on this team. I don't know who you keep. I think you might actually have to buy 3 new rifles, but you want 1 for the core if you qualify, right? Assuming Simple doesn't come back, I think he would rather find a new team at this point. Or he could come back, but I don't know. I think you may keep JL for the vibes. He's not actually that horrible. He's actually pretty good. He can find a lot of great games. But not always, right? So you need 2-star riflers. I think that's your next play. Do you see who's good after this major, and then you pick one up? It's my take. We talked about the playoffs teams. Pretty much Spirit, Boss moves so far pretty much flawless. They lost a few games, but then lost a few maps, but it was not like they were out of anything pretty much ever. G2 have just been grinding it out. Modesty carried them to this point, and then Nico had a few good maps. They don't have individual form yet, but I think the changes and the stage games are going to bring them through. FaZe are kind of scraping it through here. I don't think they're ready yet, but I think they could get way better. Same for MOUZ. FaZe and MOUZ, similar story here. We've gone through everything, I think. So let's see how much I got right. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to, you know, put a little bit of like, comment, subscribe on that joint, and I guess I'll see you next time. I'll see you when the games begin. Or maybe we'll see each other. Like ships in the night. Anyway, subscribe, you know, follow me on Twitter and Twitch and stuff. Join the Discord. Join the Discord if you want to talk about CS. And check my articles out. I've released an article at least once a month, if not more. Sometimes maybe surely. And I think that's very cool. And I hope you do too.